Boom. We are live, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, riders, ladies, boys. Today we have here a special a person who is has his YouTube channel, SurfDado. He talks about vesc tools, how is the world from the one wheel, and was some disagreements between us about the video I made. I'm not so experienced like him because he has the experience. He makes lots of videos. I invite everybody, if you want to go to the vesc world, to go to his channel. Is one of them, and there is other places. I'm going to leave all the links, and we have a discussion talk in the my video, and I invite him to come here because he don't agree with my video and I don't agree, but I think it's important for you two guys to know a little more about the vesc. He has lots of information, he has his opinion, and I think he's good for all the world out there because the vesc is growing. I want to say, Dado, thank you so much for coming. That is very nice from you to come here and accepting my invitation. And that way we can discuss. Maybe I can learn more about vesc world. I think your channel has enough for us to learn. Sometimes you have videos that the people are controversial because you go after all the companies, not just one wheel. You go for the last one, I think, was float wheel because of the problem was with the machine. I think they listen to you, or I hope they listen to you. But it's nice to have you here.
Thanks, Nelson. Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
I just want to say, first of all, before we start, can you present yourself? What is your background? How do you start? What was the one wheel or the vesc? What do you start for the people to know you a little better? And in this time, I will share here in Facebook the live.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Dado Mista. I'm managing the SurfDado channel, and yeah, I realize I never actually say my name in my videos, so a lot of people don't even know how to say my name, or they think that SurfDado has something to do with SurfDad, but no, it's just my name and surf in front of it, and that was it. But yeah, it all started as a COVID project when my son was watching YouTube videos. He was 10 or 11 at the time, and he always wanted to build stuff. And so we just found Fungineer's videos, and we saw him building a one wheel, and he was selling some of the parts that he was using. And so we said, hey, that will be a cool project. Looks fun. And so we ordered his parts, we learned how to build batteries, we bought a 3D printer, and we did all that. And for over a year, all we had was these 3D printed fun wheels. They have aluminum rails and a hub motor, but everything else is 3D printed. And the controller was a cheap Fokker from Fungineers. And we started with that. And because I have a software background, I'm a software developer, I basically started making changes because the first ride we had, Nick crashed at 15 miles an hour and we didn't know why. So I immediately was like, all right, I don't like not knowing. And so I looked at the code and said, oh, yeah, I guess I can make these changes here. And in the beginning, I tried to be really cautious about only changing things that I knew couldn't possibly cause any additional problems. So I just added a beeper and started with that. And then I started looking at the torque tilt back and added ATR and all kinds of other features. But yeah, and it was about 18 months in or so that we discovered the XR. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, one wheels aren't just toys. They're actually devices they're like sports equipment you can take into trails and ride there. So that's when my whole attitude to one wheeling kind of changed, and I realized, hey, this is actually really cool because we live in a pretty hilly area, and so just cruising around on the street isn't really that much fun, but the trails, that's where it gets really interesting. So that's what attracted me to it, and I think that's why a lot of people also know my work because at the same time GTs got introduced and a lot of people didn't like the behavior of GTs and they discovered vesks. That's when Veskman came in. Hannes, he he jumped on the Vesk bandwagon, and so he really brought in sort of the professional rider, trick rider perspective, and that's when Vesk started becoming more mainstream. And yeah, so I'm not going to bore you guys with
Yeah, of course.
Vesk
Just for you
history, but
that
yeah.
is so. Before you continue, I just want to say, in all these years, we see maybe in the last 2 years the big evolution. 2.5 years was the big jump. Uh, do you see it? Do you feel, you as a person who knows about that? Do you think the VESC is today uh, in a safe zone for everybody,
Oh, it is.
or
So
just for a special?
that's
Because you
a
are.
that's a tricky question because I think capability wise, it is definitely safer actually than future motion vehicles. It has more safety features and safety capabilities than future motion vehicles. Personally, my dad, he's 76, he rides one wheels. I would never let him ride a future motion board because I'd be worried that he would nosedive and crash unnecessarily. So, on the other hand, because it is still DIY, there is no companies behind the software that will guarantee that the board comes out configured. It is very easy to build yourself a VESC and then put in your own pitfalls and gotchas and crash because of mistakes that you made yourself configuring the board. So VESC is safe and safer than future motion vehicles if you get your board set up and tuned by an experienced person that you can trust. And there is really only a handful of people out there I would trust building such a board. And then, yes, absolutely, it is safer. Or if you're DIY minded, if you don't mind researching things, deep diving into all of the best capabilities and tuning it yourself, diagnosing things yourself, making sure that the board is indeed safe, then it's also a great option. But if you think that you can just buy some parts, put them together, like you're saying, oh yeah, I do tire changes, I changed controllers, I fixed all kinds of stuff on my future motion one wheels, I'll just buy VESC parts and put them together, and then it'll just work for me. That is a little bit dangerous because there is some or a lot more configuration steps than what you would have with future motion vehicles. So that's why it is tricky. And I still don't really recommend VESCs to everybody because a lot of people just don't have the patience to dive into all these features. And if you don't have somebody where you can buy a finished and tuned board from, for example, in California, there is not really anybody that you can, at least Southern California, I don't think there's anybody you can buy a board from that's tuned and set up for you,
That you are in a safe zone.
where you can say, yep, this is good to go, I can just ride. I know on the East Coast there is a bunch of builders in the Midwest. I think they have a few builders that will do that. They will handhold you through it. They will test it themselves and make sure the board is all good to go. And at that point, those boards can be great and superior to any future motion board. And I'm not talking about racing at all. I'm talking about average Joe riding just because you want to be as safe as possible. And
So that is for me the important thing. Race is the thing. I think most of the guys who race, They know how to mix everything, to touch everything, to change all the settings. We have
I
lots
wouldn't
of good.
even say, yeah, I wouldn't even say that they know, but they don't mind crashing. They're used to crashing. They just, I mean, I've seen racers with some ridiculous setups. I mean, they have some, they have a lot. There's actually probably more mistakes in racer setups than in average Joe setups. But those guys, they crash anyway. They send 6-foot jumps, and so they're used to crashing, and so they can put up with a bunch of imperfections in their setups. But yeah, so racing and regular riders are two totally different categories.
Yeah, but today I want to focus for us, because me, I'm a regular rider.
Mhm.
Most of the people I know is regular riders. We have lots of great riders who likes to go to the limit of the boards, and sometimes they happens because the limit, they don't know what is the limit, and they just want to push it, and they don't know that is a battery. But I want to focus is in a community. Lots of people like me sometimes is frustrated because they don't know how to do it. I'm a person that when we have the conversation about the video, you ask me who person who made my board. This is my board, my vesc.
Mhm.
This is one person that you in the beginning talked about it. He's a great friend for me, and that is Veskman. He create this board for me.
Mhm.
And today, I'm very thankful that I have a vesc. I was in 2 tours in Portugal, because in Portugal we make a tour 200 kilometers, and I was with 2 one wheels normal, and I have to carry maybe 100 kilometers the board in my back. And in the third year, I was with a vesc. I was with the vest from Vestman, not with mine, because mine was not finished, and I made the 200 kilometers with not one time getting out of the one wheel, the VESC. And that is a big difference. But there is some things that I talk about in the video. That's what I want to talk, and happen in Portugal, happen in lots of places, that sometimes you are, and we as normal riders, uh, we are with these people who tell me that you can block your one wheel. I don't know how to do that, but the problem, what happen is sometimes the people mess with your vesc. With me,
Absolutely.
was one of the times. In Portugal, happened with 3 vescs in one time, and other rides happen that you go to your one wheel, and that is very, very dangerous. In my
Absolutely.
situation, I could not go down, because that was like this, in this position, and every time I tried to brake, that was it disconnected, because it was in a limit. And I'm not being a person who can do that settings, was for me like, oh shit. I was very upset, very
Right.
upset. Yeah, please.
No, let me go ahead.
I was very upset, and that was not the first time I see that, and that was a situation very bad, and that is a situation can put me in dangers. And I said, okay, I have to, because that was not the first person who said the same thing what I told in the video. I was not talking about the video, about, because a friend for me, he told me an important thing. The problem from you, Nelson, is your English is not so good, and the people don't understand what you're trying to say. For me, in my video, what I was trying to say is like this: there is a possibility that we have an easy app like a future motion. Of course, it's open source, is difficult, but for me, is that a possibility that if that happens, that we can fix it? You told me that is the make the upload. What's the name? Backup.
Okay. Yep.
And that is the problem. That was my video. It was not saying that I don't love vesc. I love vesc. I ride vesc. I ride vesc like an animal. But I want to see my community, you too. That's why I think you make your videos, for us to come in a safe zone.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, there was absolutely no problem with the language. Your video was fine. I understood it the very
Mm-hmm.
first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched it. No, the problem is the following, right? When and let's first start with future motion, because you can go to any future motion board and change their settings into bay mode or whatever the slow mode is, and ruin somebody's board or race experience, because they would now, and people have, that has happened many times in racing before. So future motion boards are not protected at all. You can change anybody's board if they're not currently connected themselves. You can connect to somebody's board, you can change their board to beginner mode, and then they get pushed back at 10 or 12 miles an hour, right? So let's just put that aside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, vesc, obviously, you can connect to anybody's board as well. And because it is vesc, you can make all kinds of crazy changes. You can reverse the motor so that it doesn't balance anymore, but it goes backwards. And right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can do the craziest things. You can even change the settings to a point where it destroys the controller.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously very dangerous. Now, let's start with the tools and that's available now, right? So the first problem is how to prevent this in the first place. That's not an easy problem, but I'll get back to that. The second problem, and obviously it happened to you. Could you have prevented it? Maybe, maybe not. We'll get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I was trying to say, and this is where I was like looking at, yep, you can be frustrated about what happened, but I also was trying to get you to take some personal responsibility for how you could have at least made the situation a little better. And that is that, and this is where the builder comes in. And I think if somebody sells you a board, be it Hannes Westman or be it anybody else, at the minimum, and I've now that there is these kits, my son and I, we have built a few boards for friends. And the one thing I do as soon as I hand over the board, I go with them, I open vesc tool, and I show them how to create a backup,
Yeah.
because everybody has that.
Okay.
And
But
once you
the
have,
big
but
problem. Okay.
just to let me finish that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that backup, if you get into a situation like you did, right,
Mm-hmm.
then at least you know, ooh, something has happened to my board. You go open vesc tool, you hit the restore button, and
Mm-hmm.
everything is back to your safe settings from before, and you can continue and you can ride home safely, not worrying about anything. Right? That is the part that has existed for years, and it's not a new feature. It's always been there, and I cannot expect a new user to know that. This is why I am always frustrated when I see people selling and building boards and not at least doing that for their customer. Because you're, as you said, you don't know much about vesc, you don't, and I understand people don't want to learn about all these difficult, it's difficult. There's a lot of, the vesc tool is a
Now I'm learning.
overwhelming tool with lots of tiny font things and settings, and it's, you can press the wrong button and ruin your board. So some people don't even want to open it. I've seen people that don't even have vesc tool on their phone, which is crazy to me, but I can understand that. But as a builder, as a seller of a vesc board, you have the responsibility to make sure that at least people have a backup and
Okay.
understand how to get out of this situation.
But before you continue, I just want to put because it's important for us to explain. The Vestman has nothing to do with this. That was like this. He built that for me because he was seeing that I was struggling with my one wheel, and he said, "Okay, Nelson, you need a Vesk, and I'm going to build one for you that you can say." Because I was always in events, and every time I was in event, I changed to the AUC, and they asked me, "Why you changed to the AUC?" I said, "Every time I try to go with my one wheel, I don't have the power. I go uphill or the battery is very fast over, and
Yeah.
vesc man Janis, he told me, now so I'm going to build one for you. And in a moment he built that, normally it was for me to get to Portugal, but because it was not finished, I was in Portugal, and a friend for me, because from Germany to Liechtenstein and everything is lots, and my friend was in Switzerland, and he get the board from Janis, and he get the board, and we have our different lives, and because I was never with a problem and I didn't know how that works, for me it was like, okay, everything is good, let's go. And I was thinking, if I have the floaty and I have the float control and I have the vesc too because of my skateboards, but and then I said, okay, if I need the floaty is like a one wheel in my imagination. And then in the day that happened to me, and I said, oh, okay, what should I do? And then they told me, do you have a backup? I said, no, I don't have no backup because and the guy say, okay, then we cannot do nothing. The only thing I can do is put you the veskman settings, what is in internet. And I said, okay, we can try it, but because I was with the different rails, I changed it to rails. That was the other setting. The setting I have is for this type of rails, and I was with the straight rails. Then was the problem because I was 200 kilometers away from home just for a ride, and I was like,
Sure.
that was
Of
like
course,
frustration.
Right. But you're basically just describing the problems and the situation that you had. But the whole point is, and that was what I was trying to tell you in the comments, is that if you had had that backup, there would have been no problem. There would have been no video. Or the video would have been only 1 minute long.
No. Right. I think like this. I can tell you when we are in private, I show you a video that I made for several months before, and I never put it out, talking about the experience from other riders who was having that issues. Yeah. And I said, okay, that is something that vesc is growing. In this day, I said, okay, I'm a person who makes lots of interviews here to riders, and that is not the first time I listen for a person who has that problems. But I think maybe we are not so good informed. That was like my friend that he helped me. He said, Nelson, the big problem is sometimes you have, if you want the vesc, you have to learn a little more. Doesn't matter if you don't need to learn everything, but you need to learn the basics things. And absolutely. I said, oh, yeah, please.
No, I said absolutely.
And for me, of course, I come from how can I put this way? I come from lots of frustration from the one wheel, lots of accidents, lots of cutouts, lots of things that happen. And I said, I don't want to have that. And in this day, I was very, very, maybe it was too much what I said. Maybe was a moment of frustration. Maybe it was lots of things that the community, the builders, was very disappointed. But we have to go to the fact that we need more information for the people, because most of the riders today, like Europe, we talk about Europe because vesc is Europe. In USA you see it, but not so much. Europe don't want on one wheel. One wheel is not nobody's buying anymore. Is everybody going to vesc? So, and I'm seeing lots of friends for me buying from, like you told, from persons who build at home. They say, oh, I'm going to put it. They buy it a machine, and then I see my friends having accidents. And that is a thing we have to, or create something easier, like an app or something that, I don't know.
Right. But so let's talk about how to fix this in the future, right? I mean, because you were making the point, you were saying vesc needs to fix this, right? And obviously vesc is not
not the vesc. I said the guys from the guys like you, like we see now Nico as a app.
Sure. But guys like me, you see, this is the problem. Guys like me, for me, this is just a hobby, right? I develop things that I feel like I'm getting. I mean, I'm doing it all out of selfish reasons. I developed everything I did for myself, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it, because I am interested in getting as good as a writing and app experience as possible. And um, so what frustrates me about this whole vesc ecosystem is, and that's partly due to Future Motion's stranglehold on the one wheel patents and going after companies
Mm-hmm.
that are trying to do something. But we need companies that sell boards and invest in apps. And right now, who's going to do that? I don't want to create an app and then take responsibility for people's configurations and so on. No, that's not in my
I
interest. I
understand
don't
you.
want. I'm not doing this as a business. I don't make
So
any money from vesc. I'm just doing
I
this for
know.
fun, and that's it. So we need somebody to do this. But I mean, here's what's coming out, right? So there is Float Hub from
Mm-hmm.
Nico. That tool, yes, it's great, but this would not have solved your problem at all because Float Hub makes the life of builders easier, not the life of riders. Right? So when you build a vehicle, it helps you configure the board more quickly and skip a
More
whole bunch of
faster.
steps. So it wouldn't have that Float Hub is completely useless to somebody like you who doesn't build boards but just wants to ride. Right? It's not for
Mm-hmm.
riding or building. And however, one feature that Nico is planning to add, as far as I heard, is the backup feature. So he would
Mm-hmm.
have, in a more user-friendly app, the ability to create backups. Right? And that might be bringing more people or preventing more people from having a new board and not doing a backup. But again, to me, there is a very, very easy solution today is
Mm-hmm.
every builder should teach their riders, their customers, how to make a backup and how to restore. Because once you've learned that, at least you can recover, right? Yes, you can still have your settings changed, and I want to still talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But at least if it happens, you can just say, oh, damn, somebody messed with my board. Let me go restore, boom, right on, happy, right? No problem. But right, does that make sense?
But of course. I'm just going to put it in the middle because I want to put it in an easy way. It's like this, guys. When I put this video out, I start to learn the vesc because I see you have to learn. Doesn't matter what you want to say. I don't have the time. I'm a cook. I work a lot. I have most of the time, but I understood if I want to continue in the vesc world. I have a great friend. Is Alexis, was the guy who helped me in this day, and he talked with me then later on, and he said, "Nelson, the big problem we know, like you know that before as a skateboarder, and that it was a mistake for me. I was a little DIY because of the vesc and everything, and." You have to have that knowledge. If you don't have it, is very difficult because that is open source, and they are updating all the time, and that is the big problem from the vesc. That
Absolutely.
my friend Alexis who told me now, so it's very difficult for you to create an app like the Future Motion because the vesc is always going updating, and it's very
Absolutely.
difficult to put an app like that. That is from a friend who told me because I was more calm and everything. That has upset me a lot, has upset you too. I understand. That's why I think it's important for you to come here to explain to everybody, maybe to learn. Like I told to everybody, like we talk in private. I told you, everybody's going to think we're going to have here a fight. That is not what we are searching for. Is maybe for us to learn and from the mistakes. I learned from my mistakes, and
Absolutely. So
education is very important.
yeah, so this is why even if let's say Float Hub brings out a backup and restore feature and it's super easy, well, I guarantee you at least 20% of users will not install Float Hub. So, it's not that even if somebody creates an app, because there are so many, you cannot assume that everybody will automatically just have this app, right? So an app does not help you if you don't install it and use it, right? That's the problem. And so no matter how many apps we create, actually, the more apps we create, the more confusing it gets, because now you have all these choices. And with future motion, there's only one app. You have no
Mm-hmm.
choice. You take this app and you get everything. And actually, the biggest reason why you don't have these problems is because it is completely locked down. And the whole locking down of the board can only be done by the manufacturers. They would be responsible for doing that. And that could be a manufacturer like Fungineers or Floatwheel,
Mm-hmm.
or a builder. But if they don't lock it down, then all these possibilities are still there. Now, let me also bring up this whole pin locking feature, because for about 2 years, to me, this happened, what you just described, it happened to me 2 years ago. I went to a event in San Diego, and somebody changed my board settings, or maybe a friend's board settings that I was trying out for them, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
everything wrong. Well, of course, I had a backup. I hit the restore button, but still, I was always worried about this. But that
Mm-hmm.
incident was like, okay, now is the time for me to fix this. So I added pin locking functionality, and in float control, which unfortunately is only available on iPhones, but in float control, every one of my boards, I go and I have a pin. All my boards are locked. Nobody can mess with my boards, even if they tried. The only way to mess with my board would be to take it, open it up, connect USB, then you can override it. But
Okay.
over Bluetooth, they have no chance to change any of my settings, to make any changes. And I've been trying to get Simon from who makes Floaty to adopt the same functionality. And hopefully he will have that soon, so that in Floaty, you can set a pin for your board, and then nobody can make changes unless they know your pin and they enter the pin when they connect. Then they can make changes.
Okay. That is okay. Please finish. Sorry.
So that is a functionality that makes it pretty much bulletproof. And then it's better than FM, because in FM, I can still connect to anybody's board and put their boat and give them a weird custom shaping, uh, tilt their nose, all kinds of things. Now that they have more and more features, you can give them some really weird behavior and they wouldn't even notice at first until they start going fast or doing turns or things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it better. There is also a feature, if you have one of the modern controllers that have a vesc Express,
Mm-hmm.
like Thor 300, the Little Fokker
Mm-hmm.
V4, the ADV2 float wheel one, the Tronic X12, and so on. A lot of these have the vesc Express now as the communication module. And in the vesc Express Bluetooth setting, you can actually set up Bluetooth encryption and set a encryption pin, and then only your phone can connect to it. The
Mm-hmm.
only problem with that is then nobody can, even if you have a friend riding your board, now they can't connect to your board to get speed and battery information and so on. So it's, I find it is a little bit too restrictive. That's why I like my pin lock functionality better. But it achieves the goal of locking down your board and not having to worry at a festival, for example, that somebody could make a change on your board. So that's a feature that even you on Android have
Mm-hmm.
available today if you have a vesc Express and not just a regular Bluetooth module. So that's another option that is already available today.
My friend, before I just want to say, guys, we are coming now. If you have any questions to Dado, leave it there. I think that there's already some questions because of the pin lock. I think lots of people are interested in that. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make you two questions. One of them, one of my friends who works with vesc, he tell me that you can make the pin code, but it can happen that you have a problem with your controller. Is that true or not? Because he said that can happen that you
That's not true.
okay, so that was what he told to me. Is like, Nelson, the problem from this pin, and for you to do it can be unsafe, and can happen that you ruin your control or something. And I say, okay, I don't know how to do, because I want to lock my I want to do that, because that way I'm in a safe zone. I don't care. I just want that the board is mine. I ride my board.
Do you have? What controller do
I
you
have
now?
the little Fokker.
V3
The
or
3.1, I think. But
okay, so
I'm
that
going
means
to change it.
you just have a ordinary Bluetooth. Yeah, so you don't have any good options right now.
I
You
changed
can
the
only,
controller, no problem, my friend.
yeah,
Very fast.
well, yeah, so if you change it to something like a Thor 300, then or Thor 400, then you will have that feature right away out of the box, where you can just, in the Bluetooth setting, you enable encryption, you set a pin, and then your phone will ask you for that pin. You enter that, and then it's basically locked, and nobody else can.
100%, I'm going to do that. There is already persons
That's the
asking
way.
about that. I'm going to do it 100%. So, how about when you try connecting in a vesc tool? And then the other, I think that is the question. So setting a pin code in my float control prevents other
Absolutely.
persons from coming on board.
Absolutely. You cannot do anything on floaty, vest tool, even with another float control. It doesn't matter. There's absolutely no way. The only way to
But just with
circumvent
iPhone,
is with
AOS.
USB.
Okay.
Well, yeah, or if you know the pin. I mean, yes. If you know the pin, obviously with float control, you can then unlock it. But
that is very good, my friend.
So if your pin is 1111 or 1234, then somebody will probably be able to guess.
That is easy. That is or when you was your birthdays or something like that. The people do that.
I mean, the pin it's not supposed to be protecting you from a hacker, right? I mean, there's only
no
9999 combinations. It's just for you're at a festival, somebody else tries to connect because they open up a tool and now they see 20 vesc boards and they need to pick one to connect to, and it's so easy to pick the wrong one. I've done that many times. I'm at a group ride, I have to connect to a brand new board from somebody else, and now which one is it? And so it's very easy to connect to the wrong board.
Because of that, I want to make a question. There's something maybe in the future that maybe when we open, like when we open, that is possible for everybody to see the names of each one, because most of the time I can see the name of but the people cannot see the name.
That's another advantage of the new controllers. So when you have a Thor 300, you can actually set the name of your Bluetooth network so that everybody will see Nelson's board or whatever you want to emit, and then they see that already. Because if you have a regular Bluetooth module like the Little Fokker V3, then it's vesc BLE UART or built-in BLE or something, whatever it's called. And then at a festival, you will see 5 of those, and they all look the same, right? And but with the Thor and the Tronic X12 and the Enoid MK8 and so on, and they have the vesc Express module, you can set the name. You still have to do it, and you have to go into the vesc Express settings, you set the name, but yeah, obviously for all of my boards, I've set the name so that they can see that this is not their board. Right?
Okay,
so yeah,
that's what I think. That's what I think about that, because most of the time the bigger problem, you have your name, you know that is your board, but when the people open, they just see a number and that is sometimes very difficult for the people to know. They just see if that what type of controller is that you are using, but you don't see what which one. And that was the problem with me. It was three little fox, and the guy mix it. It's not his fault. He was very sad, and he said, "Oh, now sorry for me." I said, "I was just frustrated because."
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I know it's 99% of the cases it's not malicious. It's just you have no choice, and you see it. You think you're connected to the right board, but later you find out, oh, I changed. What happens is they make changes. It's like, huh, I made changes to my board, but nothing happened. It feels the same.
and the problem, you know what is the
10 feet
problem?
over is Nelson with a board, and he's like, my board doesn't write anymore.
No, for me it was like, do you understand? It was impossible to write because it was like this. And I said, and the guy said, okay, I'm going to change. I say, please don't touch anything else, because then is a big mess. I don't want to do nothing wrong. I'm going to try to contact somebody. You guys continue the ride. And for me, what is frustrating, I'm going to tell you like this. I was with a big fight with my one wheel. I love one wheel. And because of the frustration with one wheel future motion, doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about it, anybody, but that was for me as a big guy. I'm a very big guy. I have 130 kilos. It's around 300 pounds. I don't know. I'm very heavy. So, and I love riding on one wheel. And every time I have a chance to ride with my one wheel, always happens something. Somebody has his one wheel broken, and I have to give my one wheel. And I'm always with the EUC. When I want to do something, something happens to me. I was in Spain this weekend, about 2 weeks ago, and I was with my one wheel, and one guy comes, oh, my one wheel is broken. And I was.
So let me ask you this. Right now, is your board working well?
My board is like a baby now.
Okay.
Because
do you have
Alex?
Do you have a backup? Do you have a backup?
I have a backup. I have learned everything, my friend. I have everything. I just want to say,
good.
My friend Alexis, and everybody of the community, they contact me. Good. Everybody was saying what you need, and Alexis was one of them. But the community is here very humble. But in this time was a Sunday in the morning. And people, it's not nice for you to call the people when they are in this private life and everything. Hey, I'm in a problem, that. And the good thing, my friend was coming from Paris in car, and he was telling me, change this, change that, change that, change that. And then in end was not perfect to ride, but I came home and I was able to put it in my way. And today, because I learned more, now I'm messing a little more with the settings, the way, and now the board is the way I like it.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's the other advantage of having a backup, is that you can now experiment with settings, and then if you realize, oh, somehow it's worse than it was yesterday, and then you just restore, and you're back to a good setting that you had, right? And that's another big advantage of having this backup.
So then I'm going to go to another point, my friend, and I think that is not negative. I'm a person like this. I think everybody has to have the possibility to ride a vesc. Sometimes I listen to the person saying, the vesc is not for you. And I think that is so sad, because we have to live in a dictator from one wheel, and sometimes you are buying one stuff that costed you so much money, and then I see the people giving up very fast because they are not happy with what they get. And sometimes they see the opportunity with a vesc. Maybe they don't know, but they have the chance for a community to help. And I think it's not nice when I see the person saying, vesc maybe is not for you. I think we have to always explain, like you explain to me, the way we are. Maybe sometimes when we write message, it's not like the same when we speak eye to eye. Do you know what I mean?
Of
because
course,
you
of course.
read in one way and you understand it, or you write it in one form and you understand it in the other form, is always difficult for me. That's why I hate message.
Of course, of course. And I'm usually, yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I tend to be pretty quick to come to these conclusions. But on the other hand, uh, vesc is not easy. It is still today, it's a DIY build, right? It's similar to eSkate. When you mentioned you have vesc on eSkate, right? That's also DIY. I mean, this is all like put together. It's not a
Yeah, but
big
it's
company that
easier.
just,
It's easier because you
it's
don't
less
have the
dangerous
balance.
by its nature, right? You don't,
Yeah.
it's not easy to nosedive and so on. It's less dangerous for sure.
Yeah, because you don't
But
have balance. You have to put the motors, and if something happens, you're going to always have.
sure, there's no risk of
You cannot
nosedive.
compare it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But this is why, and because it's such a dangerous vehicle, the user has to take some responsibility and say, yeah, I'm, I'm willing to do this, so I need to also put in some effort. But some people, and very often what frustrates me the most is people in the vesc community who go around and say, every time somebody has a problem with the future motion board, they just go, oh, just get a vesc. And that's it. It's easy. And they sending out the wrong message. It's not easy. It's either expensive because you pay somebody to make it easy for you, or it involves time. You need to, it's not super hard. It's just it takes time. You need to at least be willing to invest some time to learn about how things work, how to keep it safe. There's plenty of communities, plenty of resources, so anybody can learn it. But some people just aren't in that mindset. I've met a lot of people that I know today, they still wouldn't want a vest because they just don't want to deal with all that. They'd rather pay future motion, take the board out of the box, step on
Yeah,
it, and just
plug
ride.
it and
Not to
let's
worry
go.
about it, right? And it's a great experience. I mean, if you can just get something that you can go to a store, pick it up, and then you just go and ride, just like when you buy a bike, right? You don't have to go and research about bikes and how to tune things. You can
Mhm.
just ride it, right? Everybody knows how to do it. So some people just don't want to spend their weekends learning about these things. They just want to ride. So
Yeah,
in those cases, I tell them, hey, actually, really, vesc doesn't let you do that unless you have a very close friend who lives next to you, or you can handhold you through this and do this for you. Um, vesc is not that
Abadado,
easy of an experience just out of the box.
Abadado, don't you think that, like you talk in the beginning, I think is important the way you do it is most of the time we see lots of people trying to build uh, a vesc because they see in a video, oh, I'm going to build, and he built for his friend, and he built for the other friend, and don't you think maybe the information, like you talk in the beginning, that the people who build should explain the basics things
Absolutely, absolutely,
about what is a vesc before they buy it, not not when they already been finished with the build,
absolutely. They
but
should absolutely,
before building, saying,
absolutely.
okay, you're going to go to this world, and in this world that is what is going to happen to you. And I think that is the bad information about lots of people. For me, it was like the same. The best man, he told me, is going to make it, but I don't ask nothing. I say, build it, just do it. He
Yeah,
did it as a friend for me,
of course.
because you see that I was I love the one, I love to ride the one wheel, but I was not anymore safe. The day I have two vesk, my doctor has a vesk too, and my son now is coming to vesk too, and but I was in guys that I know they have lots of knowledge uh, preparing, and I know that they are safe. Uh, Everything they built till today works perfectly, and they have the knowledge. They know what they are doing, and I leave it. They say, "Oh, it's better this control." I say, "Buy it. If he's the best one." I never say, put me the cheapers. I don't want to have the cheapers. I prefer we are working with something that you can die, and that's what I always tell to my friend. Spend a little more money. That way, you are in a safe zone. That is my opinion. So that is the same I say to my friends. You expend 3,000 in one skateboard, and then you buy a helmet of $20. That is the same. That's why. So, but I think for the people out there who came here, I have some questions for you. I know that you are not. You are a builder. You love this. I have some questions for you today. Which machine do you think? Do you think the Fun Wheel from Fun Engineers, when you buy the parts, is a good machine for you to buy it with everything, or you think?
You mean out of the pre-built ones?
Yes.
So I don't personally own a Fun Wheel, but actually my son put together one for a friend in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So we did get to ride it. And I would say, I mean, the two options are the float wheel, right? There's a ADV2
Mm-hmm.
right now. And the other option is the Fun Wheel X7. And recently they started selling them as a complete build where you get the
Mm-hmm.
finished board, and people are receiving those now. Um, I would say it this way. So the X7 is definitely a board closer to what most people want when they go to vesc, in terms of it's an XR based build with pretty aggressive W style rails,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very capable, good trail machine. The biggest downside of the X7 is that it has less range than, I would say,
Small
less range
batteries.
than a GTS, like slightly less than a
Mm-hmm.
GTS.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the float wheel has more range than even a GT. It has 30% more range than GT. So it's the range king. You get really, I mean, you can, that's what's really cool about the float wheel
Mm-hmm.
ADVs. You get a board that can go forever, and it's pretty trail worthy, especially if you put a BTG tire, like a big
Mm-hmm.
Burris or
Like me.
Thundercat tire on. So you can have a board for a reasonable price that is trail worthy. The biggest downside of the float wheel is that it's a, its own ecosystem. They don't
Mm-hmm.
aren't compatible with any existing parts. You can't put XR style parts on it. So if you expected the XR platform, you don't get that. And
Mm-hmm.
um, so both have their advantage. If you value range more, but you still want a trail capable board, I would say the ADV2 is the better choice right now. But if you want the most capable board and also the most future-proof board, then the X7 is a better platform to start with, because you can change it. You don't have to buy the battery from Fungineers. You can put a different battery in
Mm-hmm.
there. People put split packs in there and so on. I'm not a fan of split packs, but
Mm-hmm.
you can give it the same or even more range than a float wheel. But obviously, if we're just comparing the finished boards, then the X7 is a high performance but low range board. But for racing, for example, the X7 is a better choice, because you can, for racing, the range doesn't matter so much. And it certainly has pretty much more than enough for normal racing, because it has almost the same capacity as a GTS. So I would say racing wise, the Funwheel X7 is the better choice. But as an all around board right now, especially for heavier riders, the float wheel ADV2 is the best choice right now. Now, I heard that Fungineers is planning on releasing a long-range version of the Fun Wheel as well, but I don't know when that'll be. I think he needs to get his batteries certified as well for shipping and so on. So that's supposed to come in 25, but when that happens.
So,
and
my
I think
friend,
planning on a 30s version or 32s version for the Fun Wheel.
So I don't want to put you here in lots of questions. There's just a person here. How much less range is the? Yeah, you have to think, guys. The battery is small cells, guys.
Yeah. So I don't know those numbers by heart, but range is very simple to calculate. You find out the watt hours that your battery has, and that's the range that it provides. Pretty much all boards have about the same efficiency, so you get the same watt hours per mile, given the same rider, of course, and the same PSI and all that. But so if you want to know the difference, if I remember correctly, maybe it's 5% or 10%, at most 10% less range than a GTS. But I think it was less than 10%. But just look up the watt hour numbers. There is some posts on pev.dev, for example, that
yeah, that's what I'm going to show now for everybody to see it. Just for you guys to know, SurfDado, YouTube, I'm going to leave the channel for you guys to see it. He makes lots of tests, not just with all machines. He has X3. I follow him for lots of years, and he tests all the machines. Go there, and that way you can see what he has, and I think he's very good. Now you are coming with a drone too. That is very good too. Is your son making the videos with the drone?
Yeah, he does FPV drone stuff.
Yeah.
But I also have a DJI Neo, like the little one that can follow you, which is kind of fun to deal with.
I'm going to leave here the link, guys, for you guys. I think, can you explain for the people who don't know what is this website for the people?
pev.dev is a great resource for finding out things about if you have problems with the vesc, if you want general information. The search feature works really well. So if you type in, let's say, firmware, it'll tell you where you can find firmware to download, how to install it, and so on. If you have a particular problem, like nose hunting or the crunch issue that people get, you type that into the search bar, and you will usually get in the first one or two hits the right responses to the questions that you have. So it's a good resource to look into for any vesc questions.
So then, guys, if you don't know vesc tools, lots of people ask what the meaning of vesc. Vesc was a guy who started with drones. Then he came to the world of skateboards and he tried to make a controller and everything comes good. That is one of the best things that can happen to us is open source. That way you guys can go there. Then we have the floaty. I think is one of the what I use more. Then you have the float control, and now is the new one. I'm not so. I already have it. I'm not so. I'm learning, but I'm learning more with the vesc.
No, but the float control link. Go to the float control link. That one is not, because float control is for iPhone only. So this float control that you have is not for one wheeling. It's for something else, right?
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put the right one. I put it there. So that is the video. That was the video of the discussion. That was the video of my frustration. That was the video for me to start to learn. I'm going to change the name. I'm going to leave it there. I think I'm going to change the the name of the video because I think it was a good lesson for me, and I don't want to take it out. I want to pay for my mistakes, and the best way for you to do it is do another one and explain what I learned with this. And in this video, I'm going to try to just change the name for the people to understand that in life we are always learning, and with my age I should maybe go easy in myself, and sometimes I love so much the things that I uh, need to go easier, and sometimes think a little more before I do this type of things. My friend, I don't know if you are. First of all, was a conversation in message. I don't like. That's why I told. I don't want to talk more. I don't answer anymore. No questions. I was like, that is not the way, because sometimes you write in one way that people understand, and that the discussion goes, and then sometimes when we meet in person, is everything destroyed, and that is not the right way as adults to deal the things. And I want to thank you so much for you to come here and to accept my invitation. I think that was the right way for us to do it, for you to help the community. For me, is always you do that. I see your videos, and if you guys go there to his Facebook, YouTube channel, you're going to see that his videos is just information, just for you to see the most important things about vesc, and I think that way everybody's going to win. I would love to have more vesc people in this world. I know it's difficult, but I think if the community help, we can achieve that. For us in Europe, it's very bad. We need the vesc because we are in a bad situation. There is no future motion here. The future motion is very difficult, our life. That's why everybody's changing, and yeah, it's like that. My friend, first of all, I want to ask you sorry about this stupid. I don't want to write. I tell you now that we are here. Sorry so much for our discussion and this stupid things. Was a big pleasure to have you here. I think I learned more, and lots of persons learn. Guys, go to his channel. Listen to your friends before you buy vesc. Inform yourself. Learn a little more, and maybe it's going to be the right thing for you. I know that lots of people love future motion. If you love the future motion, big respect. That is like, I know lots of people are very happy, friends for me, and that is life. Everybody have to change what is better for you. I just want to put everybody is here writing. So they are just talking about what is. Yeah, thanks to. Okay. And thank you to for. So his name is Dado, huh? So is for everybody to know. So, and the other thing I didn't know, and he is a person who has something related to the German, and he can speak German. That is the good thing.
Yeah.
My friend, I leave you with the last words, like always, for the community. Thank you so much from my side for you to come here. I hope that maybe in the future we see us or in person, or maybe we make another interview and showing that the vesc now is in safe hands, and maybe we can say to everybody to write it. For you, my friend, I leave you with the last words for everybody who's going to see this video, or maybe later on, or now they are in a life.
All right, Nelson, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. And yeah, bye everyone. See you next time.
And guys, thank you so much. Don't forget, we're going to have lots of interviews with lots of ladies this month. It's not me making the interview. You know that is one lady is coming now making the interviews with all the ladies. Is lots of lady riders this month, and kids. Argentina, from China, from Spain, and USA and Europe. we're going to have lots of interviews. This month is going to be, I think, 20 days of interviews. Ooh. So
Wow.
have fun, my friend. Thank you so much. And 1, 2, 3, and